Hey church family, I'm Austin. I'm the creative director here at Willowbrook. So thankful that you joined us for our daily Devo today. We hope you're having a great week and hope you're making plans to join us this Sunday. We're really excited about what God's going to do in our services through our Unstoppable sermon series as we continue to study through the book of Acts. Today in our daily Devo, we're in Luke chapter 2, and this chapter holds some special significance to me, as it does to really everybody in the Christian faith. But let me tell you my memories of Luke chapter 2. My main memory of this chapter is my dad reading it every Christmas day before we got into opening gifts or doing any of our traditions or anything like that. I always remember my dad reading this chapter and us just taking a moment to reflect on the birth of Jesus and what it meant for us and for people all around the world who believe. So in Luke chapter 2, again, we find the beginning of the greatest story ever told. The birth, the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus that purchased our salvation. And I am so thankful that God sent his son, his blameless son here to die for my sins. We could never deserve that. But that's the foundation of our faith, is Jesus and him coming for us. So I want to take a moment to just look back at the circumstances under which Jesus was born. The King of Kings enters the world not in a palace like adorned with riches, but he enters the earth in a humble stable surrounded by noisy animals, and just Joseph and Mary comes in a very lowly place, and in the most unlikely of places we see divinity intersecting with humanity, and is so powerful. In the birth of Jesus, we witness the culmination of God's redemptive plan, a plan conceived in love, executed in humility, and fulfilled in salvation. Aren't you thankful for that salvation? There's so much in this chapter that we could dive into. I feel like we could preach several sermons on this chapter. I mean, the birth of Jesus is a foundational piece of our faith. But let's take a moment today to reflect on his lowly birth and his humility. I want to focus in on another part later down in the chapter. Jesus goes missing for about 3 days from his earthly mother and father, Mary and Joseph. And they're freaking out looking for Jesus. It says he's about 12 years old. And so as any parents would, they're looking for him. And they ask him, let me grab my Bible here and let's read together. When they saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, we're in verse 48 here, "Son, why have you treated us this way? Behold, your father and I have been anxiously looking for you." And Jesus said to them, "Why is it that you were looking for me? Did you not know that I had to be in my Father's house?" So these are the first recorded words of Jesus in the Gospel of Luke. And he says, "Why are you looking for me? Didn't you know I have to be in my Father's house?" And I love this because it shows the heart of Jesus to sit at his Father's feet and to be one with the Father, and to be in the temple learning and teaching. It says so much about the character of Jesus. Another translation, I believe it's the New King James Version, says, Jesus says, "I must be about my Father's business." And this is so interesting because in Judaism in that day, at about the age of 12 years old, a boy would begin to learn his father's trade. So in this case, Jesus' earthly father was Joseph, who was a carpenter. And Jesus did somewhat follow in those footsteps, but Jesus knew his father was in heaven. And at the age of 12, he began to follow in his trade by being in the temple, by studying, learning, and teaching his word. So let's take a moment today to reflect on the depth of Jesus coming to earth to be a perfect, blameless sacrifice, to take our sin on him, to come and live a perfect life and sacrifice himself, to die for us and be resurrected again, and to do that in a humble setting, to not come in a palace adorned with riches, but in a lowly manger. Again, in his birth, we witness the culmination of God's redemptive plan. I love this. It's a plan that's conceived in love, executed in humility, and fulfilled in salvation. And thank God for that salvation, because I need it. I need his forgiveness daily, and I know you do too. I pray that we will be ever aware of the sacrifice of Jesus, of God the Father, sending his Son to dwell with us so that he could live and die as a perfect sacrifice and be resurrected again. The story's not over, right? This is the beginning of the greatest story ever told. Hope you have a great day, church family. We can't wait to see you Sunday.